Hello, this is part two of our week 3 lectures. If you are just now joining us, I just completed going over the WAPR weekly assessment plan and reflection, which are going to start when you begin working with your student, as well as the video submission. Again, we're going to do a practice one next week, and then the real one will be due the following week. The last key assignment I wanted to talk briefly to you about, just so you had a heads up, was the group presentation. So I suggest you revisit the Google Doc to identify your teammates. Let's do that now. So these are the groups here in the Google Doc. Everybody has signed up at this time, so you should be good to go, and you should also be able to find your teammates on Titanium. You should be able to email them through that. If you have difficulty with that, let me know, or if you would like to get their email, also let me know. So my early literacy folks, you are working on the areas of phonological awareness, oral language, and concepts of print. Word recognition, that includes high frequency word recognition as well as decoding and word recognition. Spelling and writing is pretty straightforward. Back to word recognition though, this includes word recognition in context and also in isolation, so think about that. Spelling and writing is pretty straightforward, what that would include. Fluency, we're going to talk a lot about what is fluency, what is the full definition of fluency, because it isn't just rate and it isn't just accuracy and it isn't just prosody, it's all of those things and more together. So you will be investigating different assessments for fluency. Vocabulary, you will be looking into assessments for vocabulary and word consciousness, and then comprehension, you will be looking into assessments for word comprehension. So these are your groups. Definitely reach out to your team members. So reach out to them to discuss your presentation. The assignment is not due until December 6th, which is week 15, and you have the Thanksgiving break to also discuss and talk about and do a lot of work on it. Your group is basically becoming an expert on assessment practices in your domain, so hopefully you self-selected something you would like to learn more about. Each group member then is going to need to administer an additional assessment in your area to your practicum students, maybe student 1, maybe student 2, maybe both students. So it's really important that you start to think now, okay, what is our domain? What are the required assessments going to be? And what are other assessments we can research and bring in for our presentation? And you're going to need to make sure that amongst your group, you have a variety of assessments represented. So you're going to want to start talking now about who's going to give what kind of assessment within your area. And again, this should be an assessment that I am not requiring or recommending. It should be a different assessment from that. Then you're going to report out the findings in your presentation along with the strengths and limitations of that assessment. Therefore, you will need to coordinate with your team who will present on what, so that you have a variety of assessments represented and you can use any technology you like to do your presentation. I will have a lot more specifics for you when we get closer and closer to when this is due. However, right now you really need to think about, okay, this is, especially if you're the early literacy people, you are going to need to give those assessments to your first student if you are working with an older second student. And you're going to need to start planning now who's going to give what. It might be good for you three to each take one area in that early literacy piece. Someone do oral language, someone do phonological awareness, and someone do concepts of print. Again, here is the description of the evaluating assessment group presentation from your syllabus. In small groups, you will build a presentation using VoiceThread, Screencast-O-Matic, whatever you would like, where you will explain the focus area, conduct additional assessments in that area, address the purpose, strength, and limitations of each of the assessments and compare them to other assessments, address issues relating to reliability and validity, and then provide suggestions for other assessments and interventions based on some of the student work. So you are going to want to show a sample of the assessment the way that I will be doing in upcoming lectures. I'll actually show you the recording sheet from the assessment and then look at how to analyze the assessment. So you're going to want to do that for the assessment you give and train others how to make recommendations off of the assessment you gave. So that is it in a nutshell. Again, look forward to a rubric, a template, and more directions to come later. This is a new assignment for this semester. It's replacing a final. You're welcome. So I'm still trying to hash out all of the details, but we'll provide you as much information as you need. Don't worry. All right, a quick heads up for week 4. It is going to be a jam-packed week, which is why I recommend you start doing some of that reading now. Lipson and Wixon Chapter 4, both editions. There's also going to be an article called Assessing Motivation to Read, which includes the MRP or Motivation to Read profile. That is a required assessment for your first session. So week 4, you will need to do your first weekly assessment artifacts, plan, and reflection, the WAPR. You will also need to submit just a sample video, 30 seconds or less of whatever you want to submit, so that you are comfortable using the technology for when we need to submit our first assessment video. All right, so that concludes my spiel on all of the upcoming assignments and fun you have to look forward to. I'm going to stop it here and then come back for part 3, where we're going to get into some of the content for the week on classroom-based assessments, informal assessments, and all of that good stuff.